She begged them to watch, now they want her to send them away. The most popular player in women's basketball history is about to be cornered in a hotel room. And what they're planning to demand from her might just be the most self-destructive act any professional sports league has ever attempted. The warning shot heard around the WNBA. Picture this. You're a 24-year-old superstar. You just finished practice. You're heading up to your hotel room during the biggest weekend of the season. The elevator dings. You walk down the hallway with your key card in your hand, humming to yourself, thinking about the All-Star game the next day. And then, standing outside your door, you see them. Not one player. Not two. A group of them. Veterans. Legends. Faces you've grown up watching on television. And they're not there to congratulate you. They're there to have a conversation. That's the scenario Aya Wilson essentially previewed to the entire basketball world when she publicly announced she'd be seeing Caitlin Clark at All-Star Weekend. Her exact words, and I'm going to read them slowly because you need to feel the weight of what she said. "I'ma see you at All-Star Weekend. And when I see you, we going to talk. It ain't going to be just me. It's going to be me. It's going to be Chelsea Gray. It's going to be all the activists in the WNBA. We're going to come knocking on your front door at the hotel room and say, listen up, Caitlin. That is not a friendly heads up. That is not a mentor reaching out to a young player. That is a coordinated pressure campaign. And before we go one step further into this story, I need you to do me a favor. Smash that like button, drop your reaction in the comments, and hit that subscribe button right now. Because trust me, what you're about to hear next changes everything. The question you should be asking right now. Here's the part nobody is talking about. What exactly do they want Caitlin Clark to say? Stick with me here, because this is where it gets bizarre. According to the reporting and the public statements from these veteran players themselves, they want Caitlin Clark to publicly denounce her own fan base. They want her to tell the millions of people who tuned into the WNBA for the very first time because of her that they should stop watching. They want her to lecture her audience about the tone of their online comments. They want her to become a spokesperson for their frustrations. Let me repeat that so it lands. They want the biggest draw in women's basketball history to publicly ask her fans to leave. I've been covering sports for a long time, and I have never in my life seen anything like this. Not once. Not in the NFL, not in the NBA, not in Major League Baseball, not in the NHL. Nowhere. But that's the plan, folks. And by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why I believe this could either save Caitlin Clark's career or blow up in the faces of the veterans plotting this ambush. So stay with me all the way through, because the final twist is one you did not see coming. 3 decades of silence, then one rookie changed everything. To understand why this moment is so explosive, you have to rewind the clock. Way back. For 27 years, the WNBA existed on the margins of American sports. That's not an insult. That's just the data. In 2023, the season before Caitlin Clark arrived, the league averaged around 6,600 fans per game. Games were tucked into obscure cable time slots. Television ratings limped along at roughly 462,000 viewers per broadcast on the league average. Players openly talked about the grind of side hustles, off-season overseas contracts, and paychecks that couldn't compete with a mid-tier corporate job. For nearly 3 decades, veteran players did everything they could think of. They marched. They advocated. They wore t-shirts. They gave interviews begging for eyeballs. They pleaded with America to please, please, just watch. And America, largely, did not watch. Then in April 2024, one 22-year-old rookie stepped onto a WNBA floor for the very first time, and the entire ecosystem cracked open. Total WNBA attendance in 2024 shot up 48% from the previous year, hitting over 2.3 million fans across the season, the highest single-season attendance the league had seen in 22 years. Games averaged nearly 9,800 fans per contest, a leap that had not been seen since the early days of the league. WNBA broadcasts tripled their television viewership. Merchandise disappeared off shelves. Sponsorship checks got heavier. Fever road games became stadium-filling events wherever they landed. And then came the mother of all validations. In the summer of 2024, the WNBA signed a landmark 11-year media rights deal with Disney, Amazon Prime Video, and NBC Universal, worth approximately $2.2 billion. That deal has since expanded past $3 billion after additional partners joined. For context, the prior deal was worth about $60 million over 6 years. This new one paid the league roughly 6 times more per year than the previous arrangement. 3 decades of begging finally answered. This should have been the greatest party in the history of professional women's basketball. Champagne. Confetti. Statues. Instead, it became a civil war. The locker room splits in two. Here's what people outside the WNBA don't fully understand. That explosion of attention did not land evenly. Some players saw the growth for exactly what it was. A generational opportunity. A gift. A chance to finally build a sustainable league where salaries could rise, health benefits could improve, and future generations could dream bigger. But other players saw something else. They saw a fan base they didn't recognize. They saw new eyes on the league that came with expectations, opinions, and yes, sometimes, ugliness. They saw a spotlight that suddenly made every missed shot, every travel call, every social media post subject to millions of pairs of eyes and thousands of loud voices. And instead of processing that reality the way athletes in every other major sport have processed it for decades, some began to push back. Not against the ugliness specifically. Against the audience itself. Now, before I go 1 inch further, I want to say something important, and I want you to hear me clearly. Racist messages sent to any athlete, in any sport, at any level, are indefensible. Full stop. There is no debate to be had there. When Chelsea Gray of the Las Vegas Aces publicly shared a screenshot of a vile racial slur she received on Instagram after her team lost 109-75 to the Indiana Fever on Sunday, July 12, 2026, she had every right to expose that hate. And when Hilton Grand Vacations investigated the sender and fired that employee just days later, the world responded exactly as it should have. That employee lost his job. The Aces organization released a statement condemning the message. The WNBA rallied. That is the system working the way it's supposed to work. But here is where the story stops being simple, and starts being complicated. Because inside the WNBA right now, there is a growing effort to treat every negative comment, every criticism, every armchair take, as if it were equivalent to that racial slur. And that conflation, whether intentional or not, is where this entire narrative starts to slip off the rails. The screenshot, the timing, the message. Chelsea Gray herself, in her interview after posting the screenshot, admitted something crucial. She said this wasn't the first message of its kind she'd received. She said there had been other messages. She said she decided to share this particular one, at this particular moment, because, in her words, it was time. Now think about that timing carefully. The Aces had just been dismantled by the Indiana Fever, 109-75. That is a 34-point loss. On national television. In front of a sold-out crowd. Against Caitlin Clark's team. And within hours, the screenshot went public. Was that a coincidence? Maybe. But narrative management in professional sports is a real thing. And when a veteran superstar posts a horrifying message immediately after a humiliating loss to the league's biggest draw, the media conversation shifts overnight. Suddenly nobody is talking about the score. Nobody is talking about how the Fever exposed the defending contender. Nobody is talking about Caitlin Clark's 45-point explosion earlier in the month against Seattle, when she hung a career high alongside Kelsey Mitchell's 30. The conversation becomes about the fans. About toxicity. About what needs to change. That is a powerful pivot. Whether it was designed or organic, the effect is undeniable. Something doesn't add up, and here's where it gets weird. Now here's the part one want you to lean in for, because this is where the story takes its strangest turn, and if you're still with me, subscribe right now because I'm about to give you the piece almost nobody else is willing to say out loud. In her interview, Chelsea Gray said she believed sharing the message would make people think twice. Think twice about what, exactly? Ask yourself. Do you genuinely believe that the kind of anonymous internet troll willing to send a racial slur to a professional athlete is going to see a screenshot on Instagram, put his phone down, reflect on his life choices, and become a better human being? That is not how internet trolls work. That is not how bigots operate. Publicly shaming them doesn't shame them. It fuels them. Every social media platform's own internal research has shown this for a decade. So if the goal of the screenshot wasn't to actually reform racists, what was it? Because the effect of it, the actual outcome, was to reframe every WNBA critic, every fan who tweeted that a player looked slow, every commentator who said a veteran was past her prime, as being somehow adjacent to that anonymous racist. And that is the sleight of hand that veteran players like Aya Wilson and Chelsea Gray are trying to pull off in real time. Sports commentary is not racism. Saying a player struggled to finish at the rim is not hate speech. Saying a point guard's assist numbers have declined is not bigotry. Saying a team got outplayed in a 34-point blowout is not violence. Those are the ordinary transactions of professional sports. And they cannot, must not, be lumped in with actual racial abuse. Because when you lump them together, you accomplish something very specific. You make all criticism unspeakable. The blueprint of the ambush. Alright. Deep breath. Let's talk about the actual plan. According to Aya Wilson's own comments, the plan is for a group of veteran players, including herself, Chelsea Gray, and other prominent voices in the league, to approach Caitlin Clark during All-Star Weekend, described as knocking on her hotel room door, and having what they're calling a conversation. The demand, based on the public statements and the general tenor of the campaign, is that Caitlin Clark issues a public statement asking her fans to change their behavior, or in the more aggressive version of the demand, telling certain fans they are not welcome in WNBA spaces. Now put yourself in Caitlin Clark's shoes for a moment. You are 24 years old. You just finished the most scrutinized rookie campaign in the history of women's basketball. You spent your entire second season, 2025, battling brutal injuries. Left quad. Left groin. Right groin. Ankle. 13 games. 13. You spent months rehabbing while the internet argued about whether the league missed you, or was better without you. And now you're back in 2026, averaging 20.7 points, 7.8 assists, and 3.9 rebounds per game. You've dropped 45 in a single night. You are once again the reason your team is being talked about on every sports network from coast to coast. You have handled every question with grace. You have never insulted a fellow player. You have never encouraged bad behavior. You have never asked anyone to attack anyone. And now a delegation of veterans wants to knock on your door and ask you to alienate the very audience that just handed the league a $3 billion future. What do you say to that? The two WNBAs fighting for the same trophy. Because here's what this whole conflict really boils down to. There are two visions of the WNBA currently at war inside the same locker rooms, and Caitlin Clark just happens to be the person standing in the middle of the collision. Vision 1 sees the WNBA as a movement first and a basketball league second. In this version, the league exists to advance progressive causes, elevate marginalized voices, and serve as a platform for social change. Basketball is the vehicle. Activism is the destination. Every fan who joins the community is expected, in this vision, to sign on to the mission. If they don't, they aren't really part of the tribe. Vision 2 sees the WNBA as a professional basketball league that includes many socially engaged athletes but is fundamentally about competition, entertainment, and growth. In this version, the mission is to build a sustainable, financially healthy league that pays players what they deserve and delivers world-class basketball to the widest possible audience. Individual players are free to speak out on causes they care about, but the league itself is a big tent. For 27 years, Vision 1 dominated because there was no Vision 2 to compete with it. The league was small enough, the audience was cohesive enough, and the growth was slow enough that the ideological ecosystem stayed intact. There was no tension because there was no meaningful outside audience challenging the culture. Caitlin Clark's arrival changed that permanently. She did not sign up to be the face of Vision 2. She did not ask to be a cultural battleground. But her fan base is enormous, ideologically diverse, and undeniably drawn to her because of her play, not her politics. She is doing exactly what a professional athlete is supposed to do. Play basketball. Play it exceptionally. Draw attention through excellence. And that has made her, without her consent, the symbol of a WNBA some veterans do not recognize and do not want. Why this confrontation is a losing move. Alright. Here's where I'm going to give you my honest, unfiltered take, and if you disagree, I want to hear it in the comments below. But hear me out first. The planned confrontation at All-Star Weekend is, in my opinion, one of the most strategically self-destructive moves veteran players could possibly make. And I'm going to walk you through why, step by step. Number 1. It targets the wrong person. Caitlin Clark does not run the WNBA. She does not moderate its social media. She does not sign broadcast deals. She does not craft league policies. She is a player. She plays basketball. Asking her to solve a fan behavior problem is like asking Patrick Mahomes to fix rowdy Chiefs tailgates. It is not his job, and demanding he take responsibility for millions of strangers is both unfair and impossible. Number 2. It punishes success. Every metric the WNBA has spent 30 years chasing is finally arriving. Attendance up. Ratings up. Sponsorships up. Salaries poised to rise. Media deal historic. And the very moment those wins land in the league's lap, a portion of the veteran core is trying to push back against the audience that delivered them. That is not principled resistance. That is self-sabotage dressed up as activism. Number 3. It empowers the trolls. Every troll on the internet dreams of being important enough to influence a professional athlete. When high-profile players make a public spectacle of the messages they receive, they don't shame the trolls, they promote them. The trolls scream victory. Their message got amplified. Their bio got national coverage. The next generation of anonymous cowards watches, learns, and lines up to be next. Number 4. It cannot succeed. Even in the fantasy scenario where Caitlin Clark walked to a podium and read a statement asking every casual fan to leave, those fans are not going anywhere. You cannot uncrown a phenomenon. You cannot unring the cultural bell. The genie is out. The audience exists. The best you can do is welcome it, shape it, and educate it. Trying to shove it back into obscurity is a fool's errand. And number 5, this is the one that hurts. It creates a moment on video. If Aya Wilson, Chelsea Gray, and other veterans actually knock on that hotel room door and confront a 24-year-old rookie in a coordinated pressure move, and if any part of that gets caught on camera, and it will, because everything gets caught on camera in 2026, the optics will be catastrophic for the league. Not for Caitlin Clark. For the veterans. Because the internet will not see a mentoring moment. The internet will see a group of established stars ganging up on a young player who has done nothing but win. The sponsors are watching. Every single one of them. Let me pause here and say something that might not be popular, but needs to be said. This is not just a locker room drama. This is a business emergency. The WNBA is a league that has never been profitable in its entire history. It survives thanks in large part to subsidies from the NBA, estimated in the tens of millions of dollars per year. For decades, the mission has been to reach financial independence. That mission is finally within reach thanks to the $2.2 billion media rights deal, and now expanded to over $3 billion with additional broadcast partners like USA Network and CBS joining the portfolio. Corporate sponsors do not sign checks for controversy. They sign checks for eyeballs. Every major partner watching this unfold at All-Star Weekend is asking a simple question. Is this league heading toward mainstream success, or is it heading toward internal warfare? And if the answer keeps looking like the second one, some of those checks quietly get smaller. Some don't get renewed. Some go to Unrivaled instead. Some head to other emerging women's leagues. That is not a threat. That is business. The players who are planning this confrontation may believe they are protecting the culture of the league. But the effect, whether they see it or not, is to put a giant question mark on the league's commercial future at the exact moment stability matters most. The case for Caitlyn's silence. So what should Caitlyn Clark do? The twist nobody sees coming. Now this is the moment I promised at the start of the video. The twist. The part almost nobody is talking about. Here it is. If Aya Wilson, Chelsea Gray, and the group of veterans go through with this plan, and if they attempt to publicly pressure Caitlyn Clark into denouncing her fans, they are not just risking her career. They are risking their own. Because here is what happens next. The moment those trolls and casual observers realize that some of the biggest names in the league are trying to shame the audience, they don't disappear. They mobilize. They dig. They circulate every controversial statement, every awkward interview, every questionable moment from every veteran involved. Cancel culture cuts both ways, and it does not respect uniform or seniority. Sponsors get nervous. Endorsements get quietly paused. Contract negotiations become more complicated. And here is the deeper irony. If the veterans succeed in pushing Caitlyn Clark toward the exit, whether through injury exhaustion, mental fatigue, or just a slow drift away from the league, the WNBA does not survive at its current altitude. The media deal is tied to viewership. Viewership is tied to Caitlyn Clark. Take her away, or diminish her, and the entire economic house of cards that just got built comes down. The very players trying to pressure her into servitude to their vision would be the first to be crushed by the collapse of the league they are trying to protect. That is the tragedy. That is the paradox. And that is why so many people, quietly, behind the scenes, are hoping cooler heads prevail before All-Star Weekend even begins. What actually needs to happen? If I had a microphone in front of every WNBA executive right now, here's what I would say. Set the tone from the top. Do not let players police fan behavior on the league's behalf. That is what league offices are for. Publish clear community standards. Work directly with Meta, X, and Instagram to remove hate speech quickly. Ban repeat offenders. Prosecute where possible. Do the work behind the scenes. That is basic risk management. Draw the line between commentary and abuse. Any professional sports league has to have a shared understanding of what fair criticism looks like. A missed layup is fair game. A racial slur is a crime. Do not let those two categories be blurred by anyone, on either side of the argument. Because when you blur them, you silence the healthy criticism that any competitive league needs to grow. Protect all players, equally. Every WNBA player, whether they are a first-year rookie or an 8-time All-Star like Aya Wilson, deserves protection from harassment. That protection needs to come from the league, not from other players. Stop asking 24-year-olds to solve problems that veterans could not solve in 27 seasons. Caitlyn Clark is a basketball player. She is not the league's diversity officer. She is not the league's spokesperson. She is not the league's therapist. She is a guard for the Indiana Fever, and she is doing more for the WNBA on the court than any 5 statements she could ever be pressured into giving off it. Choose a lane and commit to it. Either the WNBA is a movement, or it is a business. It can be a business that houses many movements, but it cannot be a movement that pretends to be a business. Pick. And stick. The door that might not get knocked on after all. As of tonight, All-Star Weekend is bearing down on the league like a freight train. The events are already scheduled. Several of the marquee gatherings are set to take place at the newly opened Obama Presidential Center, and the actual All-Star Game will be held at the United Center in Chicago on Saturday. Team Caitlin Clark and Team Nafisa Collier have been drafted. Team Weatherspoon vs. Team Cooper. The rosters include Aya Wilson, tied with Breanna Stewart for the most All-Star selections of any starter with 8, alongside Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, Paige Buchers, and a stunning lineup of the sport's brightest stars. So the stage is set. The players will all be in the same city, in the same hotel, breathing the same air, for several days. Which means, in the next few days, the hallway walk will happen. The elevator ding will happen. The knock on the door, in some form, is almost certainly coming. The only question left is what happens next. Does Caitlin Clark open the door and get lectured? Does she open it, listen, and stay silent? Does she refuse to open it at all? Or, in the twist I quietly suspect might be the real story of this entire summer, do Aya Wilson and Chelsea Gray look at the growing backlash to this whole idea, see the momentum shifting against them, and decide the knock is not worth the cost? Before you go, you just watched me lay out one of the most consequential moments in modern women's basketball, and I need to hear from you. Do you think Caitlin Clark should respond publicly if the veterans confront her? Do you think this planned pressure campaign is a legitimate stand or a strategic disaster? Which side of this story do you believe history will vindicate? Drop your take in the comments below. Give this video a like if you want more honest, no-holds-barred coverage of what's actually happening in the WNBA right now. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because when this story breaks wide open at All-Star Weekend, and it will, you are going to want to be here for the full breakdown. Because whatever happens in that hotel hallway in Chicago, whether the door gets knocked on or not, whether the confrontation happens or evaporates, one thing is already certain. The WNBA is at a crossroads it built itself. And the choices made in the next 72 hours may decide whether the league that finally arrived at the mainstream stays there, or throws it all away trying to send its own audience home. Stay tuned. This story is only just beginning.